All that being said, let's bring in our friend here, Mark Farzetta, and get his thoughts. How you doing, Farzy? What's going on, man?
Thanks for reminding me about that game on Saturday. So I was better, and now not so much, unfortunately.
All right. Let me get your takeaway, though, man, on what you first saw and how you processed it after what you saw.
So I had the night of that game, I had Phillies coverage, unfortunately. So I watched the game on Sunday already knowing how terrible it was by, social media and everything. So I really, oh man, that was fun to hunker down and know that something was going to be that terrible. But I watched it. I got through it. I got through the post-game interviews, all that great stuff. My takeaway was wildly unprepared. And on top of that, I'm sorry, Andy Dalton is not exactly what I would call youthful. This guy has like 150 plus starts under his belt, in his NFL career. He's been around a minute. Tanner McKee has at least been a backup for more than a couple years. He's got 2 starts under his belt. I know that it's preseason and these are supposed to be inexperienced guys, but you actually had a veteran quarterback as your starting guy and you couldn't get a first down. I understand Darius Cooper had one drop that could have been a first down, but still, you're not going to have more than one opportunity at a first down. Like, it was so unbelievably terrible that even Nick Sirianni had to acknowledge how bad it was after the game. And I thought he summed it up rather well. Even though you're running vanilla plays, and this is what he said after the game, even though you're running a vanilla offense, you're still running your base plays you'd like to be able to execute. And my thought was, yeah, I think that's what everyone would at least like to see. It doesn't mean this isn't everyone's first day playing football. Everyone has a lifetime of football going into what last night was. And then some of them, like Andy Dalton, for instance, maybe a whole career that they have played. It was embarrassing. I mean, that's the only other thing that I can really think of. Also, Cole Payton getting the vast majority of your offensive yards on plays that were just broken plays. I think there was one called run. Even the touchdown, that was him escaping pressure, getting to the outside and improvising a little bit. So essentially, you got nothing. You got nothing as an offense with some veteran players on there and your new whiz kid offensive coordinator. Not a great first showing.
Speaking of that evil genius, Sean Mannion, we're so dubbing him now. What'd you make of his performance in that game on Saturday? Wait, we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's here, aren't we?
I'm so thrilled that
Thanks for asking me on, Sales.
Yeah, right. No, but in all seriousness, I'm so thrilled that things went so beautifully on the sidelines. Nick Sirianni, Sean Mannion, the communication was great.
That was embarrassing.
They didn't have to rush anything. It was just so great how great everything was. I'm glad everything on the sidelines was great because everything between the white lines was ass. That's the only way that you can describe what that was. And hey, please, I want to be sure we're all under the same umbrella here. We understand. Everybody gets, it's only the preseason. Yes, everyone understands. I'm not looking at the Eagles going, don't even play the season because they sucked in a preseason game. I'm not saying that. Nobody is. But good God, you at least want some kind of, warm hug or something from this team to say, hey, we've made some good moves in the offseason. We made the right decisions here. Not even get a first down until the second quarter, have 2 first downs going into the fourth quarter. When your head coach even says, as I pointed out earlier, yeah, you'd like to be able to still execute base plays in the vanilla offense, and you didn't, that's cause to at least raise your eyebrows for a second.
How about this one, too, in that presser a couple days ago? Mandy comes out and goes, yeah, the plan all along was for me to call plays on the sidelines and for me to go into the booth. And I went, so wait a minute. Your coordinator doesn't even know where he feels comfortable yet calling plays on the sidelines and in the booth. And my question would be, wait a minute here. Is that your decision? Or how about asking your quarterback, Where do you think you would want me? Would you want me on the sidelines with you, or would you want me upstairs? How is that not the quarterback and the coordinator making that call? Farzy, that sounds like something Nick is demanding that he do, because he really doesn't know what he's doing yet, because he's never been an offensive coordinator. Am I off base on this?
No, I mean, it is very curious, especially when you talk about a 9-year quarterback, albeit backup, but a 9-year quarterback in the NFL. Like, I'm sorry, were you holding a clipboard from the booth, or were you right there being ready to run onto the field? Right. Oh, we need a quarterback. Let me get in the elevator. Let me go down. Let me get onto the field. Okay. No, that's not how it worked. Like, his natural habitat is on the field, you would think, right? If it's not, and we don't know, I had the same thought as far as asking the quarterback, like, hey, Jalen, do you have a preference as to whether or not you would want your play caller next to you or in the booth? Because Jalen has always had that guy right there on the sideline with him. So I would be curious to get Jalen's take on that. As far as Mannion goes, if it is all his decision as to try it in the booth, go on the field, whatever, like, all right, he's had the game of football for the most part, with the exception, as he said, of his first year on the Packers coaching staff, which, by the way, accounts for half his experience as a coach before taking over as offensive coordinator play call of the Eagles. He was in the booth one time for that one job that he had in his first year with the Packers. The second time he was on the booth, I was on the field as the quarterback's coach. If it is all up to him, I like the idea of, like, all right, well, maybe there's something to this whole call the plays from up there type of routine, as opposed to being down on the field. If it's coming from Nick, I find that weird. If it was coming from Jalen, which I very much doubt, I find that even weirder. If I think this is all within Sean Mannion just going, hey, I don't know what life's like up there. If there's a time to kick the tires on it, the second preseason game might be that time to kick the tires on it. But if it's coming from Nick, I find that troubling, because you're one of the guys that championed bringing in Sean Mannion. Wouldn't you want him right there on the sideline so you could go over and talk to him? Plus, throughout Nick's entire time here in Philadelphia, he's had that play caller right next to him. But if it's all Sean, I credit him for at least kicking the tires on another idea. If it is Nick Sirianni, that would be very weird.
Okay, well, on August 18th, it's a question. This might be an indictment after the first couple months of the season here. And I asked everyone this question here. And by the way, this is a question, Farzy, that you're going to have a little bit of blind faith in if you're Sirianni or you're the fan base. So when I ask you this question, hey, dude, is Mannion qualified to be the Eagles offensive coordinator? And how did Nick land on him? And what are the parameters that Nick landed on him? And my reasoning is this. Well, the least experienced guy means I have more control. That gives me more control over the offense. Say I bring in a Mike McDaniel, or I bring in a guy like that, or I bring in a Brian Dable. I'm not going to have full autonomy. I don't believe this guy has full autonomy. If you're Nick Sirianni, Farzy, and your job is so to speak, and you're on a hot seat, you're going to turn your job over and sit in the 2 chair for your offensive coordinator, and you're going to let a host run your show? You and me both would be looking at the PD going, yeah, no. We're hitting iceberg. If we're hitting icebergs, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That guy's not doing it. This sounds really like Nick is still in control of this thing here. Am I wrong?
Here's where I'll disagree. I'll say that Jeffrey Lurie is very much in control of what's going on. And one of the things that you and I have kicked around in the past, and I know I bring this up whenever it comes up, is that the number one reason Nick Sirianni is the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles is because he checks the biggest box you have to check. You have to let Jeffrey Lurie feel like he runs the team, and you have to allow Howie Roseman to make decisions when it comes to the roster. Doug Peterson did not play that game. Doug Peterson was like, I've won you a Super Bowl, and now you're telling me I can't pick my coaches? Deuces. Simple. Nick Sirianni is not willing to throw shoot the deuces on that, okay? He wants to play nice. He loves his job. And if Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman say, hey, Nick, the offensive coordinators have complete control of the offense. Here's Kellen Moore. Hey, the defensive coordinators going to have complete control of the defense. Here's Vic Fangio. Nick's going to go, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I will be over here smiling, sir. Chat GPTing my next motivational speech, sir. That's what Nick Sirianni does. And he, for whatever reason, he's great at whatever that little avenue is that he has. But when it comes to who's running the offense, I don't think it's any secret anymore. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman want to make sure that they're not only, buying the groceries, but they're also helping and cook the dinner, to use the old Bill Parcells adage. That's what Nick does great. And if the guys above him are saying your offensive coordinator is going to run everything, then the offensive coordinator is going to run it. The power doesn't come from Sean Mannion. The power comes from Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. That's how I believe it. To answer your other question, no. Is Sean Mannion qualified? Hell no. There's no resume. There's no. Okay, good. He might speak fluent quarterback. Great. But as far as whether or not someone's qualified, you want to be able to look at a resume, and he doesn't have one. He's got less experience than Kevin Patullo, less experience than Brian Johnson on coaching staffs. All right. Now he's being asked to run the offense because he played for Sean Mannion. He understands Kyle Shanahan. Kevin O'Connell is a guy that he is been a part of the offense with as well. He understands Clint Kubiak. That's why he's here. How do you go from we're going to go after Brian Dable, we're going to go after Mike McDaniels, two offensive coordinators that earned head coaching jobs, and now we're back in the head coaching, in the offensive coordinator realm, and they barely even answer a text message when it comes to the possibility of being here in Philadelphia. So now you're going to let's go by Kevin Patullo one more time, just because that was so much fun. You're going from, hey, what about more experience than Kevin Patullo? How about less experience than Kevin Patullo? And we're supposed to feel all warm and fuzzy over that? That doesn't feel good. He better be a whiz kid. He better be an evil genius, because if you don't have the resume, then you better be brilliant. And I understand why some Philadelphia sports fans and why media members would be a little skeptical of Sean Mannion coming in here.
You know what this is?
What's that?
That's Sean Mannion's resume. It's a blank piece of paper. All right. Got another one here for you. How do you feel about that wide receiving core not named DeVonta Smith?
Okay. Well, obviously, I've been concerned, and I'm even more concerned being that Eli Stowers hasn't exactly looked great in camp. The lowest graded player for the Eagles. And you were counting on that tight end group to be something special to help out everybody. I like that Dontavian Wicks has stepped up and by all reports has had a phenomenal camp, but you're going from one hell of a 1-2 punch of DeVonta Smith and AJ Brown to DeVonta Smith and
dudes.
Who? Dudes. Yeah. Just bros hanging this off the street just to see what they can do. It's very concerning. It's very concerning. And look, it all goes back to Sean Mannion. If Sean Mannion's offense, they're able to spread the ball around and whatever this offense is going to be, we've been talking about what it's called and all that stuff. But if that ball is still going to be finding its way to DeVonta Smith more often than not, then obviously defenses are going to know it's going to go to DeVonta Smith more often than not. Is Saquon going to be involved in more of the passing game? Is Tank Bigsby going to be getting the ball out of the backfield? How many guys are you mixing in here? Hollywood Brown, okay. As a 3? Makai Lemon hasn't even seen the field yet, reportedly having a tough time putting it all together when he's not on the field, which is zero shock to me for any rookie. And people bring up a new offense, and they say, why does that matter with a rookie? Because this is all he'll know. Well, yeah, but when it's new to everybody, who is the rookie leaning on for help and understanding what the offense is doing? That's where the miscommunication could come in. So, yeah, I am very skeptical about the wide receivers after DeVonta Smith, as far as whether or not they can keep up with the extremely productive wide receiver position that we have seen here in Philadelphia over the last handful of years.
Boy, I'll tell you something about this Makai Lemon kid. I am not going to indict the kid on his ability. I can't. I've not seen it. I mean, it's been a 5-month train wreck for the kid since he's been an Eagle. I mean, the only other way that you could feel positive about it, he goes out there and he's Cooper DeJean impact. And you're like, holy cow. Right. When they put Cooper DeJean on that field, it like almost transformed the entire defense's attitude. Played faster, tougher, tackled great in space. The whole thing, it kind of like transformed that defense. Obviously, Q over on the other side. Those two guys, they shaped that. I don't feel that with this guy here. I mean, but you got to hope that. And in a year where you lose AJ, I can't think the Eagles are very happy with this right now, that this guy may not be there even for the opener versus the Commanders. I mean, this is troubling, dude. I mean, it's not an indictment on his career, but it's surely an indictment on the beginning of his career.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you're drafting a wide receiver in the first round of the draft in the same year that you lose A.J. Brown. That right out of the gate is a lot of pressure on anybody to be drafted. Hey, you're going to be a wide receiver as we lose one of the best wide receivers in the game. Well, maybe the best wide receiver in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, certainly in the Super Bowl era. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Replace that. And then you're also asking Sean Mannion, find a way to replace it. Like, not just replace, anywhere between, 1,000 to 1,400 yards, but find a way to replace that with one player. And then if you can't, find a way to replace that with several players. Oh, by the way, the several players you got, one of them you're familiar with in Dotavian Wicks from your Green Bay days. The other you're not at all in Marquise Brown. How do you put Elijah Moore out there as well? How do you put all this together to try to replace what you're losing in terms of production, in terms of numbers, and also an overall threat for a defense that, Makai Lemon's on the field. Let's make sure we really blanket him. How are you making sure that defenses are keying in on many targets like they have in years past? Because as of right now, I haven't seen any of that. And I haven't heard anything about anybody stepping up to take on that much of a workload and that much of a responsibility to make up for that kind of production.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Stud.
Do you believe he's a better ball player than Jahad Campbell right now?
No. Here's where you can get seduced by the preseason. He had a great game. You can't deny it. He went out there. He was asked to do the job. He did the job extremely well, taking blockers with him, getting into the backfield, getting pressures, run stuffs. I mean, everything you say about Jeremiah Trotter when the Eagles originally drafted him was, well, you hope the son of a guy like that, like Jeremiah Trotter Sr.
Not the fastest guy either. That was a reason why he went in the fifth.
Mm-hmm. But you would hope a guy like that would have the instincts, because of dad, inherit that instinct. And man, a lot of times that does not happen. But Hatchet Man certainly has a lot of the same instincts as the Axe Man did. And he's faster than his father, certainly, and uses those instincts phenomenally well. I think he will have a very solid NFL career. Jahad Campbell played very well last year, and that's easy to forget when Nakobe Dean came back and Nakobe Dean played at a very high level. Jahad Campbell's getting another opportunity at doing that, and I see him as being a big-time playmaker for this defense. And I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. will certainly get his on this defense. He will certainly have flashes where he plays great, but I expect Jahad Campbell to have a very solid season this year, taking the reins in full from Nakobe Dean and playing back there with Zach Bond. The other thing is, I feel pretty good about this Philadelphia Eagles linebacking core, and I got to pinch myself because it was so long before you could really say that between good linebacking cores of the Philadelphia Eagles. And now you can look at this linebacking core and go, damn, you got guys that can play on the inside. You got guys that can play off ball. You got guys that can get into the backfield. You got guys that have good smarts, good instincts, and a very versatile Jahad Campbell to go back to him as well. I don't see Jeremiah Trotter Jr. beating out Jahad Campbell for that spot. I think in time he might, see more snaps as the season goes on. But I think Jahad Campbell goes out there and has himself one hell of a season.
And it was interesting to see him out there playing the only starter on Saturday, because it made me go like this with what Vic was saying. Because remember, he did lose his job to Dean. He was healthy, and when Dean came back, they sat his ass. Yeah. And so for me, I mean, I think they wanted to see both those guys playing next to one another. They played 14 snaps, then they put him in there, and I thought both of those guys looked pretty good. Now, maybe it's going to be more of an indictment one day on Bond, but listen, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to beat out Campbell, but I think what he's done, I think he's elbowed his way into the conversation of getting reps and snaps this year on playing on that position, which makes them, in my opinion, like you just said, a deep group. So I think he's pushed himself into playing time. Vic does that. Look at the guys. I'll tell you what, he's falling in love with Michael Carter. I mean, you hear him talking all the time about Michael Carter, that he feels pretty good putting him in the nickel slot there. I mean, so I think Trotter's playing himself in the reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in mind is also Jihad Campbell's experience at edge. If they could have a situation where all three, Bond, Trotter, as well as Campbell, are on the football field. That's something I would love to see a couple of times throughout the season. And I think you will see that a couple of times more than a couple of times throughout the season, maybe a couple of times throughout a game. So yeah, I think they're really set at that spot, but I agree with you on Michael Carter the second. One of the things that's on heavy rotation in my mind when trying to understand what Vic Fangio is doing as a defensive coordinator and really what he has done throughout his career is really identify the guys that truly have versatility, not just ability at other positions, but people that truly have versatility at other positions. Cooper DeJean is certainly that. That's probably the perfect example for all Eagles fans. They know how versatile he's been asked to be. Michael Carter the second, another guy, when you talk about possibly being a safety, but also being a nickel, that's something that we all know Vic Fangio really adores and loves having that in his defense. And you're right. He has absolutely gushed over what Michael Carter could possibly do in his defense for the full year. And it's funny. I even look back, and he plays on the outside, but like I forgot Jacorian Bennett was even here before he got hurt in the preseason game. Like you haven't heard his name at all. So not that he would play on the inside, but it's another potential corner when you talk about a guy coming in here and taking any amount of a snap away from a guy like Michael Carter.
You know, it's A.J. Brown week, just in case you've been living under a rock in Philadelphia here.
Yeah.
So this gives trash can starters tremendous content for guys like me. Okay, so I will clearly go back into my stirring the pot here a little bit. All right, so let's revisit this. A.J. Brown, why is he not an Eagle?
A.J. Brown.
Huh. Okay, you don't blame Nick or Jalen for this?
No, and I don't blame them in the least bit because
Why?
A.J. Brown is a fanboy. He is a Patriots fanboy. He loves the Patriots. He loves Mike Vrabel, and he wants to add to his own legacy with numbers that he is not going to get at the rate here in Philadelphia that he is going to get at the rate that he will get them in New England. I have never had faster closure potentially in anything in life, whether it's personal or professional.
Oh, no, you went to the slam on the arm wrestler right here with this.
I went to the second I saw his interview, because I did the same. I was battling, maybe if Jalen aired it out a little bit more and didn't check away from AJ to give the ball to Saquon more. Like maybe if Nick didn't get in his face at the end of that playoff game, And then the second he did that interview with Maria Taylor after he was traded to the Patriots and they got the overhead shot of the Patriots fan cave rug.
Dude, the rug has been an issue for you, dude. The rug has been an issue.
I just looked at that. And look, if you're an Eagles fan, you're probably an Eagles fan watching this right now, good for you, okay? But if you're an NFL wide receiver and you've played for two other teams and you've won a Super Bowl with one of them, and you were one of the highest paid wide receivers, one of the highest producing wide receivers, and you have been in two Super Bowls, you're going to honestly go, this place sucks. I can't wait to get out of here. No, the only thing he wanted to do was go play with Mike Vrabel, and he wanted to play with Drake May because by his own admission after they won a Super Bowl, the only thing that truly mattered to him was his legacy. And when he said legacy, we all know exactly what that meant. It didn't mean like 3 Super Bowls. It meant, maybe I'll get a Super Bowl, but I'll definitely get numbers. The minute I saw that rug, I swear, Sills, I never had closure faster in any walk of life where I just saw that and went, oh, he's a nerd. I get it. He just wanted to be the Patriot. Nick Sirianni can't turn himself into Mike Vrabel. Jalen Hurts is not going to turn himself into Drake May. The only place he could find happiness was with the New England Patriots. And when you see him play last year, it all just makes perfect sense. The ball he gave up on in against Denver, against the Broncos, the balls he gave up on throughout the rest of the season, the amount of times Jalen Hurts would try to force the ball from him or to him just to shut him up. a lack of effort, even in the Bills game in the first quarter when they had a touchdown right there. He's getting tugged from behind, doesn't do anything to try to draw attention to it or plead for a flag. Just little things like that. The way he played in the playoffs, for crying out loud. The number one reason A.J. Brown is not a Philadelphia Eagle is A.J. Brown.
And so you turn the page on this one here. So let me get this right.
Moment of clarity.
In your opinion, they'd rather be lesser talented at the position than deal with Brown.
Well, let's put it like this.
Because that's what they are.
A.J. Brown as a Philadelphia Eagle is dead. All right. A.J. Brown as a Philadelphia Eagle is dead.
He's dead to me.
And A.J. Brown, and it's like the Chris Rock line. It's one of my favorite lines ever.
He's dead to me.
Chris Rock. It's one of my favorite lines. It's like,
you couldn't be more Italian with this line here. This guy's dead to me. He's dead to me.
No, but in all seriousness, like Chris Rock has one of my favorite lines about it. He's like, yeah, women always complain about chivalry. Yeah, chivalry is dead, and women kilt it. And I just think that's one of my favorite lines ever. But A.J. Brown. The A.J. Brown as a Philadelphia Eagle is dead, and A.J. killed it. A.J. Brown would not have been anything that we had seen in the past. As less of a you-know-what that he gave last year, he would have given probably 5 times less this year. Like, that A.J. Brown wasn't coming in here and, getting 1,400 yards, getting 9 touchdowns. Like, that A.J. Brown was this is why it was really a miracle that they got a first round pick back, because literally the only place that really wanted him was New England above anybody, and willing to pay that price, because the Eagles weren't going to get first round production from A.J. Brown this season. Like, it was over. It was dead. So looking at what they could have been this year with A.J. Brown, unfortunately, I don't look at it and go, wow, that's a receiver right there that could have done this for, because he was done. If last year wasn't an indication, 2 touchdowns against the Minnesota Vikings, and then you're putting out on social media, using me without using me, like, dude, you were done here. You were done probably even before the season started. So, and if there was anyone to blame, I'll play this with you. If there was anyone to blame other than A.J. Brown, the only second place to that, with a distant third and fourth being Jalen and Nick Sirianni, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley getting all the shine and all the love reminded me of T.O. and McNabb being jealous of the T.O. chants when he's like, hey, I've been here. AJ was here. AJ went to a Super Bowl. AJ was producing. Saquon comes here. He's the biggest show in town. I don't think AJ liked that in the least bit.
No, I think he wanted to win Super Bowls and games through him. And when it went through someone else, I completely agree with you. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to be here because I don't think he wanted to play with that coach. I don't think he wanted to play with that quarterback. And I think he wanted to play with McDaniel, and he wanted to play with Vrabel. And he's always coveted playing in New England. My question is, why would New England be the team that Howie would go, okay, AJ, you really want to go there? Well, I'll send you there. And you know what? You're telling me no other team would offer up more, and only New England? I'm going to have to go to Diana Rossini on that one. I don't know where she is lately, but I got to find out that one there. So do you know what SQSOS is?
What the hell? Is that a sponsor?
Okay. It's like this. Bip, 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 bip. When you're syncing SQSOS and you don't know where anyone is.
Oh.
I'm sending an SQSOS out on Jonathan Grenard. I'm just curious where we're going to see this guy. And here's something else too, Farzy. 6 years, he's played 1 full season. The rest of them, he's missed a ton of time. I mean, this guy's a $25 million investment. I'm not calling him Bryce Huff, but you got Makai Lemon, who you took 20th. You got this guy who you're counting on to replace Jalen Phillips. I don't know. That's not a good look, this guy. Well, we'll wait for the first part of the season here. I think I'm more troubled by this guy not being out there because you're going to have to rely on that defense.
I didn't like the Jonathan Grenard acquisition from the beginning. I was very skeptical, even when it was just a rumor floating around out there. And the Eagles are, really interested in Jonathan Grenard. They're said to be, working on a trade potentially, blah, blah, blah. And it was like maybe a month and a half of like solid little breadcrumbs being dropped leading to the trade actually happening. And I remember thinking, okay, when you talk about talent, no doubt. But when you talk about production and availability, no thanks. I would have rather kept
Jalen Phillips.
Jalen Phillips here. But you're also talking about, what was the swing? $30 million guaranteed swing?
And fourth year.
So I understand taking the flyer on it. I more so think the Eagles, regardless of the contract, whatever they can get for him, but also they still don't have to pay Jalix Hunt yet. They still don't have to pay Nolan Smith yet. I think they're looking at those two saying, you guys have to be the star of the show here, and whatever you can get from a veteran like Grenard, get. Also, Grenard at minicamp referring to himself as the guys were referring to him, the whole unk thing, like he's the elder statesman in the room. That didn't give me a good feeling with what he could do here. And then immediately when camp opens up, he opens up camp on the pup with a peck. So I don't have high hopes for what his season could be like here in Philadelphia. And I'm certainly hoping the Eagles are right, at least in thinking they don't need to do more than him, because they're going to get production from Jalix Hunt. They're going to get production from Nolan Smith. At this point, this far into camp, Brandon Graham told me a couple weeks ago he's either going to be in camp or he's not going to play. He wants to be in camp and go through the whole season. He doesn't want to jump in halfway through. So I'd be led to believe right now he isn't going to be signing up. Not that he would be a savior, but he'd still be good. I have my concerns about Jonathan Grenard and this season, and I think most people at this point do as well, because it's not just a guy like Makai Lemon. Oh, he's young. He'll shake this off. He'll be back. He'll be fine. But a guy that has been through the ringer when it's come to injuries throughout his career and coming off another injury-plagued season. I think people are – and the contract on top of that, I think a lot of people are starting to look at it and going, yeah, this guy might not have a lot left in the tank, unfortunately.
Two last questions here for you. This has been great. And now the content is here again. And the team never ceases to deliver when it comes to the content. Farzy, after all the things we talked about in this entire offseason too, are you more pessimistic or optimistic with the football team and how far it can go this year?
Here's where I hold on to, or I shouldn't even say hold on. Here's why I believe in optimism with this Philadelphia Eagles team. Number one, Vic Fangio and this defense as a whole. They still have horses on this. They have thoroughbreds on this defense that you just absolutely love. I still really love Zach Bond. I still really love what Cooper DeJean and Quentin Mitchell can bring to the table here. I love the addition of Reek Woolen. I think I still love what they have in the middle of this defensive line that is going to help whatever is on the outside of this defensive line. The push they can get in that middle, that's some great stuff right there. High hopes in that regard. Offensively speaking, the reason I am still optimistic is because I believe Saquon still has plenty left in the tank. I still believe Jalen Hurts is a very clutch quarterback. He's already been to 2 Super Bowls we're talking about here. He has performed extremely well in both Super Bowls he's played in. The offensive line is the biggest reason to hold on to optimism. Because if anybody on this team had a reason to be sour grapes or to temper expectations on anything with this offense and what they could be, how they could perform in the upcoming season, if anyone could rain on the parade even slightly, it would be the offensive line, because of how the situation was handled last year with Jeff Stoutland, to the point where Jeff Stoutland just said to the Eagles this year, thanks, but no thanks, I'm out of here. Lane Johnson was ecstatic the first time he spoke publicly about what Chris Cooper is going to be like as an offensive line coach and what kind of blocking scheme Sean Mannion is bringing here as the offensive coordinator in this new system that they're going to be running. Then, as recent as this preseason game, Jordan Mailata is being interviewed about it. First off, he's the one that came out with the evil genius thing right out of the gate. Then second, in this interview, he's just talking about how excited he is to get this going. If that offensive line is as excited as they have been, there's got to be reason for that when they have the biggest reason to be the sour grape bunch about the way their guy Jeff Stoutland was handled a year ago. So if I have any reason to tell fans why they should be optimistic, if they're on the fence, if they're skeptical of Sean Mannion, which I get, if they're skeptical about who's going to be the wide receiver number 2 or 3 on this team, I get. If they're skeptical about Saquon Barkley being another year older, I get it. If they're skeptical about Jalen Hurts, who's been talked about ad nauseum, the fact that these guys on the offensive line are right away, they haven't even played a snap yet, and they're right away this thrilled about what this offense could be. That's cause for optimism for me.
Farzy, I want you to explain one move for me here that the Eagles have made. Okay, just one. What is this Eli Stowers move? What is he going to bring to the table here this year? And he didn't even start really at Vanderbilt. And, your first 2 picks in the draft were wideouts, basically. What impact do you think he has on this team this year?
Well, he's not off to a good start. Let's get that out of the way. Second, Johnny Munt is – I mean, he played – yeah. Well, hold, please. There's a point coming. Just stay with me. Johnny Munt played with Sean Mannion. Sean Mannion, actually, one of the few completions he has in his career is actually to Johnny Munt. But he is a great blocking tight end. So they look at that as that's going to be their bell cow guy to throw his weight around and all that stuff. Eli Stowers is a guy they're willing to wait to see develop. They waited to see, and a much different coaching staff. Brent Selleck was a guy who had all the talent in the world when it came to being a receiving tight end, couldn't block worth a damn. But then as his career progressed, he learned it. I think they're looking at that same type of investment in Eli Stowers. The other part of this is Dallas Goedert. This is talk about things that haven't been mentioned enough. So Dallas Goedert was going to make $14 million before last year. They brought that down to a guaranteed 10. Okay. And then this year, bang, he's at 4.5. Why he's after a franchise record touchdowns? Like, what do we How has he continued to go down? What is wrong there? He either really just loves playing in Philadelphia or something's wrong. So they could be looking at Stowers as a second-round pick who is going to be a little bit of a project when it comes to developing everything else that he has to do other than just catch passes. So that's where my confusion is. Is he really that far down the line? Is Dallas Goedert still going to be the number 1 guy for the entire season? Stowers doesn't threaten it at all, and then next year Stowers brings it? That's where I'm at in the tight end room with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, Paisan, I got to tell you, you're dead on. Hey, we really love you here. We love you in our offense. We just don't want to pay you. Is that okay to stay here? Hey, you know what? Keep taking pay cuts, but you're going to, if you talk to Eagle fans, Goddard's going to have a huge year. He's going to be a major impact. I'm like, follow the money. You don't keep asking a guy to take a pay cut and then elevate his importance to an offense by going, hey, we want to make you take pay cuts, but you're going to be way more important. Actually, he's going to have a diminished role in this offense because of what you said. People look at the money, Farzy. You pay a guy like Carter because you're expecting massive expectations. You pay Q coming up because of massive expectations. You don't say you're going to be a major part of this offense and take pay cuts. He's going to be eliminated from this offense more than going to be accentuated. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, especially if Eli Stowers does develop. I mean, look, I'll go back to it. Brent Selleck was waiting behind LJ Smith, for crying out loud. Brent Selleck went out there and had like a 120-yard game against the Seahawks and a touchdown or 2, and then went right back to sitting behind LJ Smith when LJ Smith came back from injury. Like they're gonna milk this, unfortunately. But I think it's all up to Eli Stowers. Eli Stowers has to try to be that focal point. He has to try to progress as fast as humanly possible because obviously if you just follow the money, to use your phrase, if you just follow the money, the Eagles look at Dallas Goedert as a guy that's not going to be available as much as they would like him to be available this upcoming season. He has not had a injury-free career, obviously, far from that, but he is coming off one hell of a season. If they can still capture a little of that magic from him, $4.5 million shows you they have some confidence that he still has something left in the tank. It wasn't like they just said, all right, walk, see you later. But they already brought in somebody that they expect to be able to take over when it comes to the production in the receiving game.
Man, you may need some psychiatrists on the air in Philly this coming year, man, because I don't know. I mean, the way we're talking here, I mean, I'm sure you're feeling optimistic and not depressed right now after sitting there and getting peppered by these questions. But I think they're all now that also, too, folks, I didn't realize this. That's great research by my Fratello here. Johnny Munt caught a Sean Mannion pass. Now I know why he's on the team.
Yeah.
Johnny Munt is now a fixture on the Eagles because that's the claim to fame that Sean Mannion has a complete pass to him.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Farzy. I'll tell you what, we got JAKIB coming up here, too.
Oh, my man.
I can't wait to hear this guy, too. And then, of course, Angelo's coming up on Thursday. You know what he said? He was supposed to come up on Tuesday, and I was so grateful that you were able to come on in his place. And I told him, I said, Farzi's coming on. He's all good, man. I love the guy. And he goes, yeah, I'm so thankful. Because, Dan, I needed an extra 2 days to dissect Sean Mannion's new high-powered offense. And I had to wrap my head around it. And I'm like, yeah, the new evil genius's offense. I'm like, okay, Angelo, I'll make sure I pass that on to Farzy. Not a big fan of what's going on so far.
Not one first down with a quarterback that has like 150 starts. That ain't good.
0 for 9. How about, hey, 0 for 9, and get this, in the first half, Farzy, 22 plays, 56 total yards.
Pretty terrible.
I'll leave you on it. Go ahead, man. What?
No, I was just going to say, I told you, I didn't get to watch the game live. I watched it, the whole thing Sunday.
Yeah,
and
I did too.
I was checking the box score, and I was like, fourth quarter, two first downs going into the fourth quarter? What the hell? Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
Absolutely.
Hold on, time of possession. Let me just say, 41 minutes to 18. What the hell? Anyway, all right.
Oh my God! You know what, too? Hey, Farzy. Well, wait a minute though. Is it me or was it deja vu? The same problems from a year ago, even with the first team starters. You couldn't stay on the field and you couldn't get off the field. Was the same problems that the team had on Saturday, even with the backups. It's almost like a disease, right?
Yes. Yeah. One where there is no cure, unfortunately. My biggest thing was last year, the defense was on the field for so long. They were on the field for 42 minutes in this game. Well, it's just one of those situations you look at and just go, what the hell are we doing? Well, okay. When do we get the good feeling? Is that going to happen against the Patriots? I hope so.
No doubt. Farzy, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man, for your time.
I'll see you, bud.